The rain was falling in heavy sheets, drumming against the cracked roof of a half-broken house on the edge of the city. Inside, silence was louder than the storm. A young mother sat on the floor, clutching her two children close, their little bodies shivering under a thin blanket. Hunger gnawed at their stomachs, but it was nothing compared to the fear in their eyes. Their father, once a proud worker at the local factory, had lost his job weeks ago, and every passing day seemed to drag them deeper into hopelessness. They had no food, no money, and no idea how tomorrow would look. For this family, even the smallest light of hope seemed like a faraway dream. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small acts that can change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to I Am Kindness Corner. Your support spreads these messages of hope further than you can imagine. The father, Amir, sat silently in a corner, his head bowed low in shame. His hands were rough, scarred from years of hard labor, yet they felt useless now. Every place he went in search of work turned him away. Some said he was too old, others said they had no openings. He felt the sting of rejection each time, and the weight of his family's despair pressed down harder on his chest. He could not even bring home bread for his children. His wife, Sana, tried to be strong, hiding her tears at night, but the truth was breaking her heart. She had sold her jewelry, pawned her clothes, and stretched every coin to its limit. Now, there was nothing left to sell, nothing left to stretch. That night, when the storm finally passed and silence returned, Sana whispered a prayer, her voice trembling as she begged for some miracle, some unseen hand of mercy that could rescue her family from this pit of despair. She didn't know that her prayer was already on its way to being answered, not through wealth, not through some grand gesture, but through the small, unnoticed act of a stranger. The next morning, Amir walked the streets aimlessly, his body weak, his face pale from hunger. He passed by a small bakery on the corner of an old street. The smell of freshly baked bread wrapped around him like a cruel reminder of everything he couldn't provide. He stood there for a long moment, his stomach aching, until shame forced him to turn away. That was when he noticed an old man sitting on a bench nearby. The man's clothes were worn but clean, his beard neatly trimmed though white with age. He held a cane in one hand, and a small paper bag in the other. His eyes, though tired, carried a strange warmth, like someone who had seen much of the world but hadn't allowed it to harden his heart. The old man noticed Amir standing there, shoulders slumped and eyes hollow, and something stirred in his chest. He had seen that look before, the look of a man fighting silently against defeat. Slowly, he called Amir over with a gentle wave of his hand. Reluctant and embarrassed, Amir approached. Without asking a single question, the old man extended the paper bag toward him. Inside were 2 fresh loaves of bread. Amir's lips parted in shock. He wanted to refuse, to explain that he wasn't begging, but the truth caught in his throat. His family hadn't eaten properly in days. His children had cried themselves to sleep the night before. Tears welled in his eyes as he accepted the bag with trembling hands. He whispered thank you, his voice almost breaking, but the old man just smiled softly and nodded, as though it was nothing at all. Then he added a few coins into Amir's hand, barely enough to buy more bread or some milk, but to Amir, it felt like gold. Amir ran home with the bread pressed against his chest as though it were treasure. When he placed it in front of his children, their faces lit up, their small hands tearing at the warm loaves as they ate eagerly. Sana's eyes overflowed as she watched them. It wasn't just bread, it was life, it was hope, it was the reassurance that kindness still existed in the world. That evening, Amir went back to the bakery corner, hoping to see the old man again. And he was there, sitting quietly, as if waiting. Amir tried to return the coins, but the man gently pushed his hand away. Instead, he asked about Amir's life, listening with a patience that felt almost fatherly. For the first time in weeks, Amir spoke openly about his struggles, the job he lost, the family he could no longer feed, the shame eating him alive. The old man listened without judgment, nodding slowly, as if he understood every word. Then he told Amir about his own life, once, many years ago, he too had lost everything. His business had collapsed, his friends had disappeared, and he had lived on the streets for months. What saved him was not a miracle of wealth, but the compassion of strangers who offered him food, shelter, and dignity. Kindness, the old man said quietly, is like a seed. You never know where it will grow, but it always grows somewhere. The next day, when Amir returned again, the old man handed him a note with an address written on it. Go there, he said, tell them I sent you. Confused but hopeful, Amir went to the address and found himself at a small workshop that made furniture. The owner, a kind middle-aged man, explained that the old man had spoken to him and requested that Amir be given a chance. With nothing to lose, Amir picked up a hammer and began working. His years of experience in the factory came back naturally, and soon his skills shone through. By the end of the day, the owner offered him a job. When Amir received his first day's wages, he could hardly believe it. He ran home, holding not just bread this time, but vegetables, rice, and even a little sweet treat for his children. The house was filled with laughter that night, a sound that had been missing for far too long. As weeks turned into months, Amir worked hard, proving his worth at the workshop. He regained his strength, his dignity, and most importantly, the light in his children's eyes. Every evening, he would stop by the bakery corner, bringing a small gift for the old man, a loaf of bread, a warm shawl when the winter came, or simply his heartfelt gratitude. But one day, when Amir went to find him, the bench was empty. Days passed, and the old man never returned. Amir asked around, but no one seemed to know where he had gone. It was as though the man had appeared in their lives just long enough to plant the seed of hope, and then vanished quietly, leaving behind a legacy of kindness. Amir felt a deep ache in his heart, but also a burning promise: he would never let that kindness stop with him. Years later, Amir's family was thriving. His children were in school, Sanaa's face glowed with peace, and their home was no longer filled with despair. Yet Amir never forgot the old man on the bench. Whenever he saw someone struggling, he remembered the paper bag of bread and the warmth in those tired eyes. And just as the old man had once done for him, Amir would step forward with whatever he had to give, sometimes food, sometimes money, sometimes just a listening ear. Each act was small, but each carried the power to save someone's tomorrow. That is the story of how one old man's small act of kindness saved not just a family, but generations. Because kindness, when passed on, never ends. It lives on in every life it touches, echoing far beyond what the giver ever imagines. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to I Am Kindness Corner. Your engagement helps these stories of compassion reach more people who might desperately need a reminder that goodness still exists in the world. Rose, before we end, I have a special request. Please share in the comments below one act of kindness, big or small, that you've given or received. Your words might inspire someone else to change a life. And remember, sometimes the smallest act, like offering bread to a hungry soul, can save an entire family.